Another very good questions, and obviously many different answers. But when it comes towards saddles, I look at all the factors. This is why we at Schlesser make a massive uh, point of view that we are not only do the static fitting, also the dynamic fitting. So we need to see how everything works together. And often, we don't want to hear it, but often it's the rider's fault that the horse can't engage right. Is it because you're pulling too fast in the front, or is it sitting too hard in the back and the horse can't engage the hind leg? So commonly, if the rider is not bouncing on the horse's back wrong, or is jerking in the face and pulling him too hard in the front, often when it's a rider's fault, if it's because the twist is not right. Because if the twist is not right in the saddle, here in this pictures you see in the crotch area, on this rider on the right side, I colored out the green space. And there's two dots, one directly underneath his crotch and one is a little lower. The first line is in the saddle on top, and the bottom more midsection where your stirrup leather buckle would be. So that is all part of the twist. And then, of course, if the rider doesn't sit in the gender appropriate or sex appropriate saddle, in other words, a male sits in the female saddle or female sits in the male saddles, and I'm not talking about a side saddle, I'm talking an ordinary Western saddle, ordinary English saddle. Okay, just these two pictures, massively difference in the pelvis looking from the side or from the bottom. So needless to say, the proper sex saddle is massively important. If you don't sit in the right saddle or don't have the right twist in the saddle, you will sit too far back in the saddle, cause atrophy in the horse's back, and the horse cannot engage. So again, the twist is what's between your upper inner thigh, where it drew the green area is, where those muscles are. Horses very often show you, but we're trying to ignore when the rider doesn't sit in the right spot or the saddle doesn't fit right. We also know from research, from this paper here, what is over 10 years old now, that a certain amount of pressure will cause atrophy, and so much pressure that there's not nutrition or oxygen to the muscles. So needless to say, the horses cannot engage. They do all kinds of tests to the horse's back, only to see that the horses have become crooked, only to see that we're dealing with horses, either they're started too early or they have been ridden in equipment what is not appropriate to the rider. And if we have on top of it a saddle fitter or somebody who doesn't understand the importance of dynamic and static saddle fitting and doesn't understand how to watch the top line in relation to the back, all the deformity in the horse's back, the changes in the horse's back, makes it difficult for the horse to engage the back, only for the horse to the opposite of engagement, which is, of course, getting massively sway back. And if I just force it and go against it, so that makes no sense, right? So if we understand the muscles where the saddle sits, right there, this long muscle called longissimus dorsi, right there where the arrow sits. If the rider sits at the base of the withers in the middle of the longest muscle, while avoiding all these sensitive areas such as the spine, and on the bottom of the picture here, we have the 14 reflex points. This is a topic we will lecture on as well. Then here we see a skeleton when it's totally engaged. What does engaged mean? Engaged means look at the top of the spine. All these spinal processes are separated. The horse's back is up and his hind leg came underneath. If I do a sliding stop just before I jump, do a canter pirouette, I need to get the hind leg nicely underneath center of the sternum of the horse's spine. Then, only then, if the pressure is off the back, he has the right muscles and the rider sits on the right back, only then, if the back come up, the hind leg comes up. And if the hind leg comes up underneath towards the sternum, then they're becoming light in the front. Doesn't matter if you're a Western rider, under jumper, racing, whatever. The power is in the hind leg. And it's so important that I, as a rider, play a massive important role in order for me to allow the horse, teach the horse to get the back up. First got the back up, Then the hind leg can come underneath, and only then the horse can engage and come up in front. I hope this answer helped you to understand what is so important when it comes to saddle fit and why it's so important to sit in a sex-appropriate saddle and stay away from those reflex points, which we go in later a little bit.